infinite power. Kind of weird thing, but it's that's why he's so effective. The the Jedi are like just so ready to not accept Anakin because it's like, well, this guy may be special, but the thing is, he can't we can't really accept him into the fold of the Jedi Academy because this kid's an orphan. This kid he needed to be younger, because by this point he's like 9. So imagine the kids are like 5 or 4 when they get started, and but it's a very jarring experience and lifestyle that these and it has to be kind of like wholly dedicated to. And this guy hasn't, if anything, Anakin hasn't lived inside of the Empire. He doesn't understand how the Empire operates and runs. So he's always an outsider as part of it too. They're like, well, even Qui-Gon says, like, look, make Obi-Wan a knight. He's ready. He knows how. He knows what he's doing. I don't need to challenge him anymore. He's faced. Like, okay, and just let me train the boy. And they're like, we can't do that. It's just, it doesn't fit. It doesn't seem right. That's the other thing. The Force is basically telling them all, look, you can't do. Don't do this. Don't decide on this. Don't get rid of this kid. This kid is bad news. And that's what they realize, like, look, the Force is telling us not to take this kid in. This kid is bad news. We can't accept him. And that's where they failed right away because they realized, oh, we have to shun this guy. So later on, when Anakin does become, a trainee of the Jedi Academy, I think if anything, he's kind of got this chip on his shoulder. It's like, you guys didn't want me. You guys just basically had to take me in. And you guys think you're better than me. So, I mean, I think ideally that's one of the things to keep in mind is that people look at this kid and they know, you're the chosen one. There's something real special about you. But at the same time, it's like, it's Anakin kind of has this, like, I don't care what you guys think. I'm and the kind of the better than you thing feeds into his mind. So he's a little arrogant. He becomes kind of arrogant all the time, and that's one of the problems that Obi-Wan keeps having with keeping him in control, in check, was just how arrogant he is. But Anakin learns the way of the Jedi Force, becomes super effective as a Jedi Knight, and that's why real quickly they started, in the Clone Wars, they gave him a general command, and it was kind of by chance that he got it. But Obi-Wan went to bat and said, look, trust Anakin with this Force. He will be effective. He'll take care of it. And they're like, okay. So that's what they thought. Trust in Anakin, and Anakin will do the job. So they come across this Sith. They fight the one, and the thing is, it's Darth Maul. He's alone. They don't know how to react. They don't know. It's like, all right, well, was this 1 or 2? And Yoda's like, no, there's always 2. There's the Master and the Apprentice, and I think this was the Apprentice. So we got to keep an eye out. So like, all right, well, keep an eye out. Episode 2 rolls around, and the Rebel Trade Alliance is just kind of kept up, or they went Rebel, and I think what it is that Palpatine basically realized, well, I'm going to make it seem that it's ineffective of me being able to bring these guys back in the fold, because ultimately he could always just send the Jedi out after him. So he's going to wonder, like, well, why didn't he send the Jedi? To go get them. Why weren't the Jedi directed to go get these Trade Federation guys? Why is it that, in the supposed 8 to 9 years that passed since, Episode 1 and Episode 2, were these guys allowed to continue to operate? If the Jedi are always so effective, why wasn't something done? Why not send the Jedi to call these guys? And I think that what you could imagine is, well, for one, they weren't a threat. They just kind of withdrew and built up their armies. And there was the idea that this army had been developing in secret. That was always like this last-minute thing, and they kept it a secret from the Jedi. So I think that was like the first tip off to the Jedi. Hey, we found this planet full of clones, and all the clones are, they're ready to fight for the Empire. Why? What's up with that? How come we weren't told about it? And I think what happened was all the Jedi discussed it, and they realized, you know what, okay, these are an army, this is an army, we can control it, but let's not totally trust these guys, because I think ultimately somebody developed these guys for something. Keep an eye out. They may turn on us in a whim, and I think that's also part of the reason why, like, just let them die. Let these clones die. Don't keep them alive, because there's something bad. The more we get rid of now, the less we have to worry about when all this stuff's over with. Because I think the Jedi even realize, these guys are unnatural. They're not what we want. They're not something we need to help us finish this. But then again, they needed an army, so So that's the major class. But part of it is too is that you have these terrorist attacks, these supposed terrorist attacks going on Padme, and as a result, and it also it's all happening on Coruscant. It's all targeting one person, and if anything, it's Palpatine. Yeah, and ultimately it is Palpatine, but it's Palpatine saying, like, look, I'm going to make myself and my people out as victim, and people are going to take sympathy on me and support me more, give me more power as well, because I'm in charge, and it's like, yeah, and they'll willingly do it, and anybody who doesn't is like, well, what, you don't have sympathy for Naboo and what's happening to them? So that's what happens, is that they keep targeting Padme, trying to kill her. And Padme had always, already been doing the secret double switch with somebody. And you can imagine that, even her successor was doing the same thing. But, Padme is at risk. Padme is afraid. And, the Chancellor, who is also Naboo, he's like, look, oh, don't worry about it, babe. I'll take care of you. We're going to get rid of these guys. And so she becomes kind of like the spokeswoman for this idea of this movement that, look, we need to stand up. And then even Jar Jar becomes the spokesman, for it, saying, like, look, I vote that we give the Chancellor supreme power, to take care of this problem. And part of the reason why is because Palpatine can so influence the Force that he can tell half of the Senate to oppose the other half and make it look like nothing can be done. We need, and so, like, literally, it appears to everybody, oh, nothing can be done. We need somebody who can just decide. We need somebody who's a decider, who's a dictator, to take charge of things and dictate to us what needs to be done. And somebody who has our best interests at heart. Everybody has sympathy for the Chancellor. And they know he's going to do the right thing, because this is the problem he's been facing. He's going to make it his life's goal to bring peace, and people are going to accept that. So that's where the armies start clashing. And I think you can imagine, too, that, well, that was the last thing, or Palpatine also used that as an excuse to basically gobble up a lot of territory, gobble up a lot of land that was ununified, or that was just kind of a little sketchy on full authority. It's like, oh, well, there's these, like, unclaimed, planets, and he would just move the trade alliance, because they're not rebel by that point, but he moved the trade alliance to these positions, and they would, just take it over as an excuse to war and basically have an army on that planet to take it over. So that's something else to consider, is that this is going to come up in episode 6 with the Ewoks, which I'll bring up later. But anyways, these different people are being taken over, willingly or not, by one army or another. And so there's already this tension, and it's already like, well, we have to have a perpetual need for an army, in other words, because there's different parts of, the territory that belongs to the Galactic Empire that are unsettled, they're riotous, so we need, that's why we have to have Star Destroyers, that's why we have to have Super Star Destroyers, because there has to be this fleet to maintain order and control. When the Emperor gives the order, or gives Order 66, all the Jedi are immediately assassinated and killed on the spot. No second thoughts, and you can imagine that's a genetic code that was printed into the DNA of, of the stormtroopers and the Empire troops, or Republic troops. What else? But you can imagine that as soon